Innocent Minds.
We need you to go out in your real life and to make feedback a regular part of your life.
My name is Isioma. I was in that place where I had everything, but I didn't know I had everything. I was looking for my resources outside. And I remember one of the things that happened, I think it was our level 1, yes. Mr. Hausa asked us to wear some pink clothes or something, or purple, I can't remember. And I kept thinking to myself, in fact, when he said, it just threw me into some kind of pandemonium. I was like, where do I get, I did like a quick scan through my wardrobe in class, and I couldn't find purple. And I was thinking to myself, I was muttering to someone, I was like, where do I get purple? Why is this guy so, and we're not going to end this class early. Where do I go find a shop to get purple? Why would he even ask us? What is in his mind? I kept probing in my heart, like, why was he thinking about that? And you know that the next day I came in a purple, really. And I found out that was a massive lesson for me. I couldn't stop talking about it. You know, I was busy trying to figure out what was in his mind. I didn't think about, and not where to get purple. In fact, I didn't think I had anywhere in my mind to get purple. But purple was right in my wardrobe. I didn't need to go find it. It was there.
I'm Rose. I teach. I'm a mother. Before now, I am a good mother, but now I'm a better mother and a better mother-in-law. By the grace of God, I relate well with my daughter-in-law, and she acknowledges it. So I'm fulfilled already. It's not the money. I'm fulfilled. I have a very closely knitted family. We always remember that wherever we go, when we come back home, we are in a bond, and that has really helped us. It is what money can never buy. 2016, I told myself that I was going to give myself this gift of self-development, and it's really yielding fruits.
I'm Precious Adjonu. I knew for me that my calling has to do with how we think. And if we're going to have sustainable change in Nigeria or globally, wherever, you need to change how you think. So, but how do I do that? So I came here, and as soon as I left, I said, I'm going to start thinking school. It was as natural, well, it wasn't so natural because my father said I was crazy, we've never fought. So it's been a journey from...
So you fought?
Yeah, we fought after NLP. You know, you said everybody was, so we were always close, and then after NLP we fought. So it's not always positive. You know, people say you go, you kiss, no. My father said I was crazy. They call this thing a yo-yo stuff. You know, you're doing this yo-yo, you know, you need to get out of there. You know, it sent me online all the things in Wikipedia that had been said about NLP, and it's not different from the pastors I was chasing. My dad is traditionally Catholic, very Catholic. So we fought, and I started NLP. I started thinking school, and then of course my husband would support me somewhat until it became real. And by real, I mean I started getting called to speak in places. This became an extension of myself. So we started to have issues over, you know, at some point a family meeting was called, you need to close down this thinking school. My father said, he said, this is Africa, you know, this thing you're trying to do, this man thing we've been saying, you managed to get married, now you want to chase him. So after NLP, it didn't become rosy for me, I'm sorry, I went to war. In fact, at some point I didn't want to see your picture. Yes. We weren't communicating, so you probably don't know I'm saying it now. I didn't even want to see your picture. I was angry with you somewhat because, you know, I could have just been there and not met him, and everything would have been okay. So now he comes, and now all of a sudden I can't help it. It is what I need to do, is what I think about in the morning, is what gets me to bed at night, and I have to do it. And my dad is saying, this doesn't make sense. Anyway, so why did I come?
And you have this professional training.
And I have, yeah, so I was in marketing. And again, that's another thing. So I didn't lose my job because they loved me so much. But what they said was, Prince will say, Precious, you know, I don't know what you're up about again, but I can't fire you, you know, you're very important, blah, blah, blah. Go and figure this thing out. You know, this is your mind. Just figure. Are you a psychologist? You know, so everything. People started to reach out to me for stuff, deep stuff. You know, I'm homosexual. They tell me, oh, I'm this stuff that you traditionally won't tell other people. So I started to get all of those It's been a journey.
My name is Ashibola Demuyiwa. All my colleagues in the college have told me, guy, I don't know why you are giving those people your money. But I have a friend who always tells me he's excited that he's not going to meet me on the pension queue. Because for us as civil servants, our lives is all about loan. You run loan for about 20 years. You know, when your daughter is getting married, you are still getting loan for the marriage. Teachers have a deep problem, and those problems are rooted right there from our trainings. The teacher preparation is a problem. So I want to raise a revolution where the teachers can tell, Madam, you must pay us 12 months. You must pay us for 12 months in a year. So the process is that I need a model. A model to communicate it. We are not raising thinkers in the country. So thinking is killed at age 4, age 5. You are not allowed to do anything, and everybody is straightforward. And I'm the National Secretary of Early Childhood Association of Nigeria. On our platform, immediately a professor says something, you discover that everybody just. I said no. Just show me one country where those who were taught through rote learning had been able to go to the moon. Show me. If you show me, I'll agree.
After yesterday's class, the dots began to connect for me. So I began to figure out where my what's it called now, fear of public speaking or presentation actually started from. So I was able to relate it to the kind of feedback mechanisms that I grew up with. So as a child, as a child, when you messed up and stuff, they had to whip you to get in line. Yeah. So it was majorly the only way I was being corrected. So there was no chance to explain this, that, and for you to air your opinions. So when I had passed the stage of whipping, pre-teens, early teens, so apparently the next step was to being shouted at and being told this is the right thing, I am your mother, I know the right thing, blah blah blah. So at that stage I was just bottle up. I knew what I wanted, I knew I had my own opinions, but I won't say anything, I'll just keep it in. So obviously over time, unconsciously, I just learned that I learned to second guess my opinions, to doubt, even though most times what I had in mind was actually correct, but I learned to second guess myself. So I learned to just always keep it inside instead of coming out to talk.
My name is Caleb Alimi, aka Calebo. Yesterday during the presenter stance, I think I struggled a bit. I had to stand like a robot to get it. And then I was telling my wife, we did, she was like, so what do you guys do today? And I said, we learned to present, in a still position. And all the while you don't really know your mannerisms. And as I told her that I presented standing, she just burst out laughing. That you can't stand still. I'm telling you. And it was amazing. And then I practiced it in front of her, and I did it for three times, and it was perfect. But I never knew that I had all these funny mannerisms.
I see a lot of parents not doing anything intentional, even these days, to protect their children. Us parents.
Not the parents.
Yeah, us parents. So it's not, they didn't do it right, but what are we doing in our own homes to protect our children? Sex education starts at 18 months. How much of that do we do for our children? What resources do we have access to be able, because a child should be able to be taught what to do if there's a sexual predator in the home. But if you don't know, or you've not taught that child, and then one of the things
society also focuses on girls.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. We have boys who are being abused. Every family should have a family culture. You should have a system of receiving people into your homes. It's not enough to say his family member, he can come at any time. There should be an immigration system in your home. And anybody that is staying beyond 2 weeks must pass through that induction or whatever. If the person is not willing to do that, the person cannot stay in your family. You need to protect your children beyond keeping sentiments of brother, cousin, uncle, and all that. Because even now, we still have children who are being abused by family members.
My name is Olakomi Arowoshegbe. In church where I attend, I happen to occupy a certain role, and on Sundays we actually have this review in the morning, and usually after the review, whoever is doing it, I come next to kind of encourage the workers and things like that. But while the person was handling it, some other person who was a worker colleague who I have rapport with had scribbled a note to me. And on opening the note, I looked at it, and although the writing was not so, but it was, she did say, when you go on stage, do not summarize what the speaker has said. So I was like, okay. Then I folded back and scribbled back to her and said, noted. If I may ask, is there any reason for that? And then hashtag just asking. But when the note went over to her, what it did for me was she looked at it and I could see her physiology change. She was happy that I was asking that question. Then she quickly wrote back to me to say, we are not daft or dumb. Daft or dumb. Right? So to me, it was massive feedback for me. Like, okay, anytime I go there and I try to summarize what she is saying, am I daft or dumb? As in, and I heard it the first time. Why are you summarizing as in? So while we were here doing the feedback thingy and saying that feedback is the food of breakfast of champions, it connected with me that before NLP 1, what would have been my reaction to her scribbling a note to me? There was this how you receive feedback. There was this point you said you take a mental note of it. I'd not heard it like that before, but I did that on Sunday.
Yeah, unconsciously.
But out of curiosity, I said, okay, let me even ask. Why is she saying it? I could have said, okay, she's just saying I should not summarize. Well, okay, I won't summarize. But let me even know why she's asking. You understand? So I did the note back to her, noted, but if I may ask, why are you saying that? And it was clear, and I'd taken a mental note of it. And what I did going up now, not summarizing, was the fact that those presuppositions, the one that Nickel loves so much, there's no failure in life, but only feedback and utilize all. I decided to use that to talk to my crew, as it were, to tell them that, listen, anything you get back as a feedback is not a failure. It only tells you how to better yourself and do a lot of things to even enhance the growth of whatever organization you belong to. So yesterday for me, doing just that and trying to connect to you attending NLP at some certain level, you start appreciating or becoming aware of a lot of things that you usually would not pay attention to or take notice of. So it was massive for me yesterday.
My feedback is that I don't like taking feedback well. And that's my own feedback. Wow. Yes, I don't take feedback at all. When you're talking about feedback, it's funny. I kept thinking, I was blocking it in my mind. I was blocking receiving. I don't take feedback well. So I just thought, okay, since I became aware of myself blocking the learning, so I said, okay, I have to receive this and I have to practice. I'm addicted to practicing. So I called my mother-in-law and I told her to give me feedback.
usually don't like her feedback.
I don't even ask her.
Baptism of fire.
So I called her this morning. That's why I've been here since 7. So I spent 2 hours in the car. But I thought it was important. I'm an in-time person. I do what's I thought that was important. So I let her first. She said, are you sure that this thing is not a trick? She kept asking that repeatedly. I actually did pray. I said a word of prayer. So I'm back with I'm quite happy with God these days. So I actually did pray. And then I called her and I was and I let her speak. I normally don't. Once she gets to, you this precious, I interrupt. And I try to correct that thinking immediately. You know, it's the thinking school. Can't tell me. You can't tell me that. That's wrong. But something else I learned is, you know, the sense of rightness. And I also have this coach. She's in America, so we've been speaking. And the sense of rightness. I've been questioning that. Why do I need to be right? You know, why do I have to? I know stuff, you know stuff. But what is the need to? So there's still something there. Like, do I need to come off, you know, I'm intelligent? Or why do I need to be right? So I let her speak, and she talked, and then in the course of the talking, I noticed she said, you know, Precious, I might say you're a baba, you're not, so you know I love you. And normally if she says she loves me, I'll be like, I love you too, love and lie. You know, I say that a lot. I just put it blanket there. But when she said it, I believed her, you know, in her own way. Again, because I wasn't judging her. So I didn't need to, you know, where is she coming from and all of that. So, and I said, I really honestly do. I honestly do, and I'm a work in progress, because, you know, something about leading is everybody expects you to know. So I am taught very high. No, nobody wants me. If I make a mistake, I am punished. But now I'm like, it's okay. And at the end, she was really happy. It was emotional for both of us, you know. Women cry. But yeah, it was a good morning.
Yesterday was massive for me, talking about the talking about groups and how they are formed. Walter asked a question. He said, what part of growing up do you think is the hardest? And just sitting down, I said to myself, the beginning, the birth stage, getting to get accustomed to the weather and all that. I think that's the hardest part, trying to walk and all that. So he now went ahead to say, whichever state you think is the hardest is probably the stage you find hard when it comes to group and all that and implementation. So I was thinking about that for a while until I got home this morning. I was still thinking about it, and then I noticed that I'm not much of a starter. I have so many ideas, so many things I want to do, but my God, taking the first step. When I come into a group and I love the vision of the group, I find it easy to buy into it and to move. Yes, and to move. And before you know it, I'm even wondering, how did I get to this leadership position? That was not my aim. That was not why I came here. But to start, like, I was just thinking about it. And the very first thing I know I started was you that initiated. It was you that pushed me, yes. Starting our seminars and all that, marriage seminars in Jos. It was you that pushed me. I don't know if you remember, you asked us to write a goal specifically. You told Walter, Charles, Jerry and myself to write a goal specifically for public speaking. And then we wrote it and read it to you and did all that process. Then you met me outside and you said, Nancy, make sure you do it. And then you said, Nancy, make sure you do it. And I told you I will. So I was bound by that word. I told you, yes, I will. And it was hard. It was hard. My heart was beating. It was racing. Every time I had to do the social media ad and everything, I would read what I wrote again. Audacity statement. I've done 3. Wow, as in the feedback is amazing. People write and they are like, wait, somebody wrote on the feedback and said, I mean, all I went through, you mean it was for free? That was just the comment, and many people have met me and said, I think that the quality you give is too much for it to be free.
All right, my name is Larry Kazima Bimbola. I I was intentional. When I got home, I actually planned to look at the positive sides of everything in my people. So the first person I had contact with was my store manager. She came home to give me feedback on the day's event. So I realized that she felt really good when I started with the positive, on the positive notes. And okay, that's good. The next thing, she gave me something that my nanny ought to have done, which she didn't do, and I lost it. So I realized when I was speaking to my nanny, my son was observing, and he said, "Mommy, you're shouting. And I really felt bad. Do you understand? So I switched. So I moved to my daughter. So I said, okay, let's present. Let's start. So when she did that presentation, of course I had the sandwich feedback in mind. So she was excited. And in the event of that, we had to make about 4 recordings because she kept saying, "Mommy, please, can you record me? Can you record me?" I think that was, So I realized that the positive comments which I made, and I switched, of course, to areas she needed to improve upon, got her excited, and she kept going and kept improving on her presentation to me. So basically, I think that's it. But however, I still need to watch it because it seems I just lose it when I have to talk or deal with my nanny. I don't know why, but I need to work on that.
I'm an architect, but a baker not by choice. So I had this struggle, like, what's blocking you? Is it pride? Is the ego? What are you going to do with the ego? What are you going to do with the pride? Then I felt, okay, he's not going to listen to me. I kept on asking myself, how do I know that? What did I want to do? I got to that stage, that empathy stage. I didn't know we were going to discuss this morning. That's what I shared with her this morning. That I felt like waking him up, kneeling down and ask for forgiveness. Because I knew I had good intention. I knew had good intention. How it was done was not necessary for me any longer. But there were messages that were passed. And if they were not passed, however it was passed, if they were not passed, I wouldn't have been here. Yeah. I wouldn't have been at this point. So I felt grateful that even though his criticism was emotionally bad for me, but I got good out of it eventually.
For me, when we spoke about values, and of course empathy was dwelled upon, and it took me back to the fact that I know I'm a very loving person. Nike, please look at me and stop smiling. I know I'm a very loving person, and I'm trying to wonder what's going on, especially having to deal with my nanny. And I thought to myself, perhaps, because Mr. Innocent did say I should, work at it. So I was thinking about what processes of how can I go about that in achieving it. So I thought to myself, okay, perhaps when I see her, I should first of all give thanks to God that this lady is human. She's actually a patient person. Do you understand? So I was jotting out all the points, all the things I'm going to take notes, so that can actually help me in communicating with her better and all that. Then also there's another person who is very dear and very close to me. The person has actually hurt me in a certain way, but I'm trying to deal with that as well. I realize that when I see the person, I have this...
You get into a state.
Into a state. I actually saw myself in the mirror this morning, and I had this horrible look. Wow. I'm like, wow, do you understand? So now when we're talking about values, I'm trying to also paint it that perhaps the person's values, or it's one of the hierarchy in that person's, in values chain. So perhaps I need to respect that and trying to deal with it from that angle. It could, give me some relief and make me communicate better with a person.
I actually got home late, but I still tried to let me just watch it. But there was something in it. There was something in it that was very, very key for me. I heard something, and I was thinking, what does this really mean? He talked about fun. That just enjoy the process. Whatever will come out, don't start thinking about it. And that was very, very massive for me, because I started thinking, when I'm planning a training, do I look at it as I want to go and have fun, or I want to go and do something very, very serious, where you're looking at everything and just like, there might be no prospect here. When I was going home, I was discussing with Dima 2 days ago that I found myself that I want to do a training in Abuja, and maybe I need to put about 150,000 or thereabouts to go to Abuja. But I discovered that I keep looking at it, and I'll just drop it. But I'll still, I'm comfortable. I mean, spending the same amount to plan a training I do not know what to expect in Asaba. So if I can go to Asaba, go to Port Harcourt. So what's stopping me from going to Abuja? So yesterday I was not thinking, supposing I just thought, let me go and have fun with my friends in Abuja. Let me just go and have fun in Abuja and just plant a training. I want to go and play with my friends in Abuja. Let me just plant a training along the line so that it's not just that I do something. So that was very massive for me, that I can really, really begin to look at my work as fun. And once there's a connection, the child in me will be like, let's try. That was massive for me.
We saw some short videos that were punchy and they made sense. And then I started to think of my practice. And I was sharing with some people when we're going home that in my code of engagement, that maybe when you invite me to speak somewhere, it's in the code of engagement that I don't speak for less than 45 minutes. I would request for a time of 45 minutes and above. And my understanding then was that I needed to get people to understand what I wanted them to understand, and any time shorter than 45 minutes was not going to be enough to pass on the message. And then we saw the tree. It was less than 2 minutes and the message was passed. So I began to ask myself, where did I pick that code of engagement? How did I think that 5 minutes was not enough to make a point? And I had to do a soul search, and I found out that it was when I was starting out and I was getting ideas from people who, so to say, were established in the niche. And so that was part of what I copied and pasted without processing it. So I remembered another quote, I don't know who said that, but he said something about there are no experts of the future. That for the future, the experts of the future, vision will have to give way for experience. And so that just made sense for me. So it's not enough that, yes, somebody has excelled in this field, yes, but there's something that it's a process. So I'm glad that I came to a point where I know that I can make impact in 5 minutes. And so, of course, you know that that code of engagement will need to be recopied and pasted. So secondly, when I watched the home play, a lot of things stood out for me, but I'm just going to share this. He said that communication is exchange of data, but that connection is an exchange of humanity. That was profound for me. It spoke a lot of things, and I began to see that. So if I needed to exchange humanity, I didn't need 45 minutes. That was just data that I wanted to communicate. But the exchange of humanity did not require that amount of time.
I'm a why person. I always ask questions. Why? Why do people behave to me the way they behave? Why did this person say it the way he said it? And I've always had myself sometimes stall in my communication with people, my interaction with people, rapport with people, because I cannot answer or I cannot produce my why, or I don't get my why answers. And I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, I realized that life is in phases. Things are in phases. Things are in phases. So there are some whys you will never get until you get to the face. Don't try to rush it. Don't try to find it before you get there. Just enjoy the moment. Just enjoy what you have. Just enjoy the relationship the way it is right now. Because when you get to what you want, if you have not enjoyed what you had, you may not even have what you want. So I realized that all of the group dynamics, I've had occasions where I'm having to relate in a group, and I'm expecting people to relate with me at the level I am, or I'm supposedly wanting to be with them. If I meet someone now, it's almost like we strike the thing from the first time, you know, especially if the person is speaking from the heart for me. But when I meet people that I perceive they're probably not speaking from the heart, it looks like, oh, can we even have a connection? But understanding that people are at different levels, you need to allow this thing board. Don't fuse it before it is ready to be fused. It's one great thing that I've learned.
At some point, Sean talked about the story of a young girl that felt she was weird, and he spoke to her over the phone and told her that you are just, people would remember you, you are memorable. And then that changed the life of the girl. But what, it was later in the part of the video that Sean talked about that story. But even before that story, I listened to Sean, and he said at the point where he was, I think, in the White House, he said he didn't say he said I was strolling. And he was on a wheelchair. He said I was strolling. He was on a wheelchair. So, and it now said many times the language we use even can do us good or even do us harm. And for him, he had even conditioned himself that he wasn't on a wheelchair, he was walking. He was walking on the aisles of the White House, not on a wheelchair. And when he now said the story of the girl, it was just that word, you are memorable, and that changed the girl's philosophy of life and even outlook to life.
Part of what I wrote out as the objective of why I'm here is to acquire the skills, effective communication skills, to be able to communicate effectively in a tribe that I'm leading, my group on Facebook. So while we were doing the groups the other day, I began to look at, okay, what stage are we at right now and all of that. Then today's class, while the class was going on, I just was telling myself, I talk intentionality and all of that, but I don't think I've been intentional enough in my writing. Because I'm thinking in my head, okay, I was here for presentation skills to be on platform as in a physical platform, not realizing that in my writing, I am presenting. So I asked myself, I was looking at the language patterns, and I said, we did this in level 2. But I can't find where I intentionally applied it. So I remembered what Mr. Osa said, that, oh, after all this magical moment, we'll now leave, and next week I'm writing in my usual way. So I said, you know what? For the next 3 months, if I'm going to write anything, I will write it with my manual. So I'm putting my manual before me. I'm making sure that at least I have at least 5 of the language patterns in every write-up. That if I do that intentionally for like 3 months, then perhaps I could now be at a place where I don't have to carry my manual with me. But for now, I have to put my manual in front of me while writing.
It was really profound. It was massive, and I also intend to begin to when I'm preparing my messages for either my teenagers or whichever platform I get, to be more intentional in the use of the language and to see, definitely there'll be more results.
Sometimes I'm standing there, I'm aware at some level, but not totally aware. Like when you talked about taking charge of the room in this awareness, so that even when a pen falls, you notice that and everything. So I'm sitting down and I'm wondering, hope I don't get distracted when I start noticing those very little things here and there and all that. So
it seemed about the time we were supposed to present that nobody was willing to do it. And everybody was saying, you can do it. You should do it. You can do it. And I looked at Chigozie, I was practically begging him. And I was practically begging him, sort of like saying, don't disgrace us, please. Don't let us go and disgrace ourselves. And I think for me, at that time, I think Ronke's group had presented, and it was kind of very phenomenal and very intimidating. And so, you know, other groups were supposed to present. At that point, I was just like, this is the end. I can't do this. So it was coming and coming, and Suni came to us. You know, when she came to that corner, she wanted our group to present first. I practically pushed Suni away to Caleb, like, don't do this. No, go to them. We are not ready. And good enough. Chigozie noticed that I was very nervous, and I wasn't faking it. I was really nervous. He now said, sit still, just sit still. And he said, let me do anchor for you. And held my hand. You know, it was kind of like a joke, but it helped me. It just helped me calm down. And, you know, I got loads of feedback about, wow, that was good, that was good. I'm like, you guys don't know what I went through just some moments before.
Joy McClinton Chima, I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur. I always thought I was born this way. Until my coach, Mr. Innocent Tusa, said, there's nothing like you're a born introvert or extrovert. You actually learned it at certain points in your life. That got me thinking. One of my amiable friends here, Chinwe, said that hers was when she was mocked when she was in primary school. I knew that wasn't my case. I was always at the spotlight, even when I don't like standing on the platform. But when it comes to written notes, I always excel by His grace, and always was that kid that would go home with all the awards at the end of the exams and closing of the school. And Wale said his was how he was scolded when he does something wrong. Oh, of course, I was always like the bright child, so I wasn't really scolded that much. I kept thinking, I had little memory of my dad, and because he died when I was quite young. But I was told he was always on the spotlight. He was a man of the people. He loved to help people all over around him. He loved to give. He was that boss that will tell a subordinate, come, let me tell you the exam you take so that you get the next promotion. He was that man that will tell his wife to stay at home, and he was paying her monthly. He was my mom's tutor and always guided her. He was very much family oriented, that all the nieces and cousins that were educated was because of him, and my house is always full, like I was told, but I didn't know. So that didn't just get him a lot of friends and affections, he got him a lot of javelin, in the word of my coach, that he was struck with stroke when I was young. Yeah, you might be thinking it's from maybe colleagues or neighbors. No, from the circle of his family. His mom, let me shock you, his mom was part of the conspiracy. How did I know that? She confessed to the crime before she died. That was actually meant for my mom. They said, we're only 3 girls, and my dad was okay with it. They said he lived like a white man, he didn't care about boy or girl thing. He was okay with it, and they were jealous of that. They didn't like that, so they brought fetish stuff in my house through one of those people that are living with us, kept it under their matrimonial bed without their knowledge, and that was how my dad was affected. My dad was bedridden for 4 years. And I was around 2 years when all this started, and whenever they take him to, I was the person that would experience all the pains and all that with my mom. So I couldn't speak. Nobody told me bedtime stories. My bedtime stories were the mosquito flies, because they tried the Western treatment. Even the white men that were treating him said they couldn't do anything because it was beyond that. So whatever they went to, they had to travel to several places. My nursery school was virtually different remote areas, one place or another. If they stay here a month and it didn't work out the next place, I was like a toddler, so they had to carry me along. So whenever my dad screams, those were my bedtime stories or songs or rhymes, you know. That kept happening. I saw my dad turn from human to almost animal, because it was intense that he could make animal sounds. Yeah, it was that bad. And he was bedridden to the point you could see the bone of his butt. And you know, all those places that they heal such people, is always they are confined to one room, apparently wearing used to such life. So it was very hard. Now I found out that mine wasn't all this, it was because of repressed memories. That I didn't have to live like a normal kid. I spent all my childhood as, you know, just like I've explained. But I really thank God I got this knowledge now. Because before now I always knew there is a me that makes me the real me that I'm created to be. Not this me that I've been conformed to, but the me that wants to reach out. There's this voice in me. I knew there's a message God gave me to the world. I want to come out, but something keeps stopping me. I wonder what keeps stopping me. I really, really want to relate with each and every one of you, but something keeps stopping me from doing that. It's part of me. Yeah.
Can we give another round of applause?
Oh, wow. Thanks so much. And that was one of the reasons why I embarked on this journey, because I want to find, not just find, but define me. To find and, sorry? I want to find and define me, and also help other kids to find themselves, because I didn't find me on time. I want to help other kids to find themselves on time, you know. And I'm making this decision today to go out there, out of my comfort zone, because I always, in my comfort zone, right at home, I'll perform very well, but when it comes to the group to say something, I'll just black out. I don't know what to say. And I see myself always standing in front of crowds, reaching out to people. I love to do that, but something keeps stopping me. And why this pain intensified was 2 years ago when I was told that before my dad died, he blessed me and said, whatever stopped him will not stop me. And whatever he could not finish, I'll finish it. But I always had that fear of death, that my dad, whatever happened to him might also happen to me. That's why I don't like coming out, so that I wouldn't be noticed. But something, somehow, will still bring me out there. So, thank you for listening.
What I'd observed from watching Coach Carter was the fact that I'd not seen the groups previously. I saw the groups yesterday. I saw the formation of the group at when they were at the middle and even when they became a solid team. And then the presupposition that says that, I don't know whether it's a presupposition that says when the environment cannot harbor you anymore, it will spit you out. It happened in that I'd never seen it that way before, even before yesterday. And then I observed that Coach Carter was using metaphors. Yeah, he was using a lot of metaphors to even coach his team. At a point, the boys had asked, how many sisters does this man have? He's always, and if you had looked at the basketball game, it was actually the Lindas and the Catherine that he was using to correct them while playing. So if you had told them a certain formation, I don't know too much of basketball, possibly they wouldn't understand it when executing, but they could relate to Linda. They could relate to, those many sisters that this man has. But I then went back and I started thinking, because I watched it, at the point I was watching with my oldest son, and when I sent him away when the scenes were going to get murky. But I wanted feedback from him. But at a point the boy was dozing off. I said, don't corrupt me, go and sleep. then I asked the question of myself that I've never seen the hurricane before, but there's one that if you ask me, Hurricane Catherine, why would they name Hurricane Catherine? But that one, I've never seen it before. I don't know what the hurricane looks like, but I know Hurricane Catherine. Why would they name it Catherine for all the names they give to them? Then, you know, when one of those, was it tag questions? That you can give life to, when Walter had said, I was on the 3rd Milan Bridge, I'd spoken to the wave and the wave, you know, and I was like, okay, whoever are the ones that they know all these things, they want you to remember that event, they give it a name, and even I, a Nigerian that has not seen the hurricane before, at least knows the Hurricane Catherine. I know there are several others, but that Catherine stick. So every day of your life, if you are able to adapt many of these concepts, I tell you, no one will forget you.
Okay, I've watched the film before anyway, but yesterday when I watched the movie, I watched it with a different perspective. So the two things that stood out for me was one, use of ground rules. For every team or for every group you want to set, there must be ground rules. These are the ground rules that everybody will need to adapt. It was only when everybody bought into the ground rules, that was when they started achieving results. Even some were not comfortable with the ground rules, but ground rules must be set. Even his son was not spared from that ground rules. Then another thing again I observed was they used teamwork. When they were achieving the basketball results, they weren't actually achieving in their school studies. And he came to meet them, he told them, you failed. He corrected himself, he said, we failed. Telling them that this is a teamwork, that everybody needs to come on ground. Another one was when one of their team members was asked to leave the gym. He wasn't able to complete his grounds and suicide. You know, you could see the team play. Everyone started saying, okay, I'm going to do 20 for him. I'm going to do 50. So it was more like, you know, a group and a teamwork.
I've also watched the movie before. I watched it along with Lean on Me. If you watch that movie, you say it's similar. So I'm going to watch it another, that Lean on Me too, I'm going to watch it another new lenses. Right from the beginning of the movie, what I learned is marketing. This man went to their game, saw the game, saw how they were disorganized. But there is no unresourceful people, but unresourceful state. So he has this clarity, possibility, and he wants to change. But now, because he doesn't, he's still thinking about it, whether he should go for it or not. Why? Because he also has a structure. And that structure is he going to be given that chance? Why? Because in his mind, he wants to make a change of, you play football, basketball, and you have good grades. So that you don't end up opening a shop like him. That's his mind. Now, discussing with the lady that pushed him, the lady said you have to do it. That's a lot of money. He said, okay, you are going to take your girlfriend for summer. He said, I'll get the money somewhere else. So when he says, so the lady now asked him at the end of the discussion, so when are you going to sign? It's not about, are you thinking about it? When are you going to sign? So that's a push. He was pushed and he went into the school, make all the agreements. But then because he has a structure, he presents himself well. Funny enough, previously, when I watched it earlier, I was thinking, he's a strong man. But not knowing that his choice of words made it possible for him. He went in there, the first person cracked a joke about him. He returned back with a joke that the guy was, everybody laughed at the guy because perhaps he's the best of them that cracks jokes that nobody can beat him to that. He beat him to that. So, and then the cruise guy, that aspect also hit me. This guy, to them, is the best. He felt he's the best. And unknowing to him is nothing. Among them, they are better off of him. So, and again, the first team that won them, that's another part I was touched too. The guy was asked, are you the next Brown James? He said no. That's taking back to modeling. When we were in NLP2, we were talking about modeling. Who do you want to model? Do you know their history? So this was, no, I don't want to be like, I am Tan Crown, not Benny Brown James. So don't associate me with him. His life is different to mine. So, and lastly is for everything we want to do, like we need to be focused. The clarity must be there. You must have the possibility that it will happen. Because when the first thing that always, before coming to push at all, the presumption that I always work with, impossible is nothing, Adidas. Impossible is nothing, and since there all my life, there's nothing I can't do if I want to do it. Thank you.
He made a statement. He said, I cannot teach you the game of basketball until your conditioning is at a level that allows me to do so. So it's also underscores all that we've been learning here, as in the scripting, the background, where you're coming from. So regardless of whatever Suni says, Mr. Usa says, if I don't deal with that conditioning, it won't make any effect. So that is very key. That was very key for me. It was massive. Then, okay, he said something again to the effect that, okay, that really hit me too. He said, since when is winning not enough? Playing hard not enough? You don't have to humiliate your opponents. So it's not a Pepe Dem Gang thing. It is, I'm not doing it for someone else. I'm doing it for me. So as far as I've achieved my goal, I don't have to rub it in. It's not about putting down the next person. Yeah, so, okay. So he kept asking one important question too, and it was, what is your deepest fear? What is your deepest fear? And that resonated with me. And someone said, okay, yeah, I think it was Isioma, you know, yeah, so basically for me, those are the key points and key things I saw also from. Thank you.
He had a good intention of making sure they win the games according to the school rules. Now, but he had more than that. He wanted them to win the game, at the same time, be the best in their academics. Then the school started coming against him. Even the parents started coming against. So in life, you find out that there's something you want to do, you have good intentions, but the system will not just allow you. You just have to push somehow, gently, to make your point clear.
As I was watching those boys, I am seeing a grand conspiracy like we have against the teachers today. I was seeing people who give so much, but there's just this conspiracy against them. And they can't confront the conspiracy, and anybody that attempts to confront the conspiracy, that person is brought down. I looked at those boys. The head teacher, the head of the school, they were interested in basketball. So in other words, children had come to school. The number one objective for the school, it's even different for them. So just like the teacher in our everyday life, we just discovered that the teacher is just conscripted to give and give and give and give. And anytime the teacher attends, there's nobody that is standing up to stand for the teachers, to help the teachers to see something different. On day 2, I spoke with Barrister Lukovic that I was going to take the federal government to court. Yeah, I was going to take federal government to court on the Empower scheme. That was a grand fraud. But there are some said I want them to give them the letter of appointment before we begin, so that they are on the system already. You know, you want to employ teachers, you need teachers clearly. Teachers who are supposed to earn 69,000 naira, you decide to give them 30,000 naira. And teachers are sharing testimonies in church. That was the link. That, okay, these boys are excited. We are playing basketball. What if injury comes in? What happens to you? You are dead. You go to jail. Something happens to you. So the system is not protecting you. And I've been asking that for us as teachers, I said it somewhere at Aswed sometime about 3 months ago, that for us as lecturers, we are just comfortable. We sit down in our classrooms, we collect our salaries, our students graduate, and they are living on 15,000, they are living on 20,000, they are living on 30,000, and nobody is looking for an alternative for them. These teachers are doing the best with the resources available to them. And I look at the whole system. Even we as lecturers, we are working with the resources available to us, because the system has made us be very, very selfish. We don't want to assist anybody. We just want to get paid and walk away. And anybody that attempts to do something differently, the system is looking at you, the system is telling you, no, you can't do it, no, it has never been done before. And it's connected with me at a deeper level. About 4 months ago, I was seated with a retired naval commodore who happens to be a medical doctor, and he said they pushed him out of Navy because they don't want him to become medical director. And he went on to tell us the story. I did not know why he became a doctor until after he retired from service. He said when he was going to the university, there were just 3 universities in Nigeria then, and he wanted to do engineering. And on the last day that the form will close, the father just told him, please, there's no medical doctor in our village yet. Please go to Inlag and do medicine. He said he did medicine, went into the Navy, and not blah, 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 blah. After he was pushed out of the Navy, the Lagos State government employed him. He said it was when Lagos State government employed him, so he had to do some trainings with some doctors, anesthesia or something. And he said that has reduced the mortality rate of pregnant women to a very, very low rate. And you observe that in Lagos in the last 3 years, the death rate at death has reduced. He said it was until then he discovered why his father asked him to study medicine. He said the last 45 years of his life, he never knew why he was a medical doctor. And that connected for me at a deeper level. And I was asking myself, and okay, he was supposed to leave again this year. And Lagos government said, no, he can't leave. He's about 73. That he can't leave, that he still has to train more medical doctors. And I looked at myself, why did I even return to teacher education? I left, I was selling wardrobes and kitchen, and I was all right. But something just happened. I was drinking somewhere, and someone just looked at me and said, shut up, you are not a researcher. And that was rest. The following morning I woke up, and I was asking myself, who is a researcher? And I returned back to the university, and I had not only become a researcher, I had one research grant with Lagos State government of about 4 million some time ago. I was now thinking. So when I was watching this, I was like, why did I return back to teacher education? And I found that answer in that movie. There's teachers need a new voice.
After he closed down the gym and insisted they get their grades right, there was chaos. The family couldn't understand. Initially, the boys couldn't understand. Their family couldn't understand. The school board couldn't understand. This is the only thing that these boys are good for. And they seem to have forgotten that they were not known to be good basketballers until this coach came along. They seem to forget that in the whole mix. If he's not ready to allow these boys to play, let's move him out and play. So sometimes chaos comes and is good if we can embrace it and utilize it properly. Because even in our lives, usually when we are even in trainings, and then you get to this place where you are confused, where there's dissonance, there's confusion. Mr. Usa says you are right where you need to be, because that's the path. Yes, before breakthrough, there's that chaos. And then also, I noticed that when the boys came and the other guy came back and he gave him the number of suicides to do and the number of push-ups, and he couldn't complete as at when due, and the team decided to join. Naturally, self-pity will say, okay, since everybody has decided to join, let's just allow them. Okay, don't worry, I cancel it, you are back on the team. But he didn't do that. He went ahead to say, okay, keep counting, and when they complete it, let me know. So, because sometimes we find ourselves in this place where we feel is empathy, but it's actually pity. It's not empathy, because we help the people jump the process, and the process is key, the process is important.
they started winning, they were bragging and jeering, and they were really excited about it. And they were like, I did this, I did that. And the coach corrected them. And that got me thinking, how do I celebrate my victories? Sometimes in life, you've done some things, you've achieved some goals, and you actually realize that the short triumphs or the short-term goals you've achieved, they are hindering you from doing bigger things. You're chilling and celebrating your little achievements instead of getting up to go after the bigger ones. So that was really profound for me.
Innocent Minds.